fearful prospect of being overrun by aliens using genetically modified Earth life forms as ground troops, War of the Worlds 2030, and I wish you had all the books to hold up as I call them, but they're all the way at the back. Or the all-out fun of having a Japanese goblin feast on the people of Toronto, Nukekubi. Did I pronounce that correctly?
There's two different pronunciations. Close enough.
Close enough. Stephen V. Pearl is probably one of the lightest and fluffiest writers active today. I mean, who hasn't written a front row center seat at a modern-day witch burning, worlds apart, or detailed the course of a plague in a post-apocalyptic world, Tinker's Plague? He only killed about a third of the population of Guelph in his first print novel. Seriously, our guest has studied both metaphysics and science in his quest for truth and brings that knowledge to his work, which spans the speculative fiction genre. So please, since I'm not fond of the taste of flies, and you'll have to explain why, because I'm not quite sure, let's give a warm welcome to author Stephen V. Pearl.
Thanks. Well, the flies is a reference to the metaphysics and transformation into a frog. So, I'm going to be reading from Nukekubi. And Nukekubi are from a Japanese goblin from their mythology. And their powers are based on fear. And as was mentioned, this one is feasting on the people of Toronto. But he has done a trip to Niagara Falls and had lunch. So my modern-day wizard, Ray, has gone to where the Nukekubi fed and is trying to sense and get information on it. So, it hit me like a sledgehammer. Our foe was smarter than I'd given him credit for. Under the blood, embedded into the asphalt, was a psychic landmine. A concentration of fear, in a week or two it would have dissipated. To a non-sensitive, it would make them feel uncomfortable, but nothing more, to me. It ripped across my senses, plunging me into a vision. I was chained to a tree on a beach. Kathy and Sekmora were in the water, drowning. I pulled against the chains that held me. I had to reach them. I had to save them. I couldn't. The chains were too strong. Help us, Ray! Save us! They cried for me. Years of training, and I couldn't save the ones I loved. My beloved and my cat went under and didn't come up. My grandfather, looking like a rotting corpse, rose from the sand and was gutted by a large, shaggy, steel-clawed beast. He looked at me with pleading eyes. Why did you let me die? Why didn't you save me? I tried to focus, but I felt my fear building like a tide. I couldn't save anyone. I'd fail. People would die. The ones I loved would die. My father lurched in front of me and clutched his left arm. He collapsed. I attempted to perform CPR, only to watch his spirit rise and glare at me with accusing eyes and vanish. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't watch anymore. All the beings I loved were suffering, dying. I wasn't good enough to save them. I reached for my eyes, but something held my arms. I struggled, but my arms wouldn't work. Some part of me knew this was what it was, a hallucination, powered by my enemy's deadliest weapon, fear. It was making me live my greatest fear. It was the fear that made me train so hard, the fear that made me cherish the ones around me. I'd used it, but never defeated it. I chose to use it. I set my will behind that small, sane part of me and focused on that fear. Sekmara would, barring the unforeseen, die before me. Then, drawn by love, she would return to me in a new body. Would I sacrifice the soft touch of her fur or the trusting love and support she gave because of nature's clockwork? Would I stop living because all stories end in death? Everything ends in death. But death is not an end. It is a transition. I would not sacrifice life because it would bring pain. Pain is life, as much as bliss. One without the other is meaningless. I stopped trying to reach my eyes, and the pressure on my arms lessened. The chain released, and Kathy appeared in the arms of another man. I watched apart from the scene as I burst into view and beat her. Another fear, the fear that I would become that which I hate. I laughed at how ludicrous the scene was. The fear recoiled from the sound. Given her training, Kathy could probably beat the crap out of me. I knew this fear and denied it. I chose to be the man I am. I would not change those fundamental choices for the sake of temper. The image evaporated, replaced by the zombie version of my grandfather. It's your fault, the rotting lips formed the words, but the voice was off. It wasn't my grandfather's, it was my own. I'll see you and raise you. By now the hallucination was getting thin. The energy driving it exhausted. I was almost back in the real world. I remembered my grandfather, and he was there. A gestalt made of my memories and a true representation, as true a representation as a 12-year-old boy joined with an adult's perspective could make. Nice work. You're almost out. The voice was his. A voice I'd longed to hear for 14 years. Do I need to say it? You've done me proud. You should let go of that. It doesn't serve you. He gestured towards the corpse version of himself. Easier said than done. I looked at my grandfather, silver-haired, broad-shouldered, though a little chubby. It struck me how much alike our faces were. Keep trying, he smiled. I was kneeling on the loading ramp with Toshiro holding one of my arms and Kuno the other.
To start off the questions, what writers inspire you?
J.R.R. Tolkien, brilliant. Don't write anything like him, but he's brilliant. Frank Herbert, Jim Butcher, Homer. There are others, but those are the big ones.
And do you find it difficult switching between different genres?
If I have to do it quick, yes. I like to immerse myself in a genre when I'm going to be writing in it. So I will actually, if I'm going to be writing fantasy, I will read a fantasy book, and I'll shift my reading into that genre. And then when I'm doing a science fiction, I will read science fiction books and do a massive tour of popular science magazine and anything else related to the sciences I'm using in the books. So that makes it easier.
I think I was holding my breath the whole time you were reading. Is there any comic relief in it?
There's a lot of comic relief in the book. In the book, Kathy Ray's on-again, off-again girlfriend she helps him, but she is his on-again, off-again girlfriend.
Oh.
So she's kind of, sometimes it's just, why am I with this dweeb? And then there's also Toshiro and Kuno, who are Japanese martial artists who make hunting the Nukekubi their life's work.
Oh.
And Ray also has a tendency of breaking the fourth wall and speaking directly to the audience. It's written in sort of the Philip Marlowe, Mike Hammer, hard-boiled detective style. So, yeah.
So we're going to get it translated to Japanese?
I would love to, but translation costs money.
Okay, maybe
Well, I'm open to anybody who has a good command of Japanese. Yes.
Have you thought about sort of previewing or testing the waters for a book or a book idea by using social media like YouTube or something like that?
Well, I use YouTube, I use Facebook for marketing mostly. Currently, I am doing a monthly newsletter, and I'm putting one chapter of a novel that I've written in that per month. And I'm basically just sort of dangling the line for the audience.
Well, that was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put out a lot of samples.
Okay.
It's always a bit of a balance act because you don't want to give too much. You want to taste, but you want them hungry for more. Okay, thank you very much, folks.